they found that millennials have like a significantly higher rate of 17 different types of cancer than the previous generations in the same point of life. Now, a majority of cancer is still in people 50 or older, but when analyzing people that are in their 20s and 30s compared to previous generations when they were at that same point of life, millennials have a much higher rate of obesity. Sorry, not obesity.
Well,
they have a much higher, they have a much higher rate of cancer. And 10 of the 17 cancers they're linking strongly to higher rates of obesity.
Yes. Which in general, right, you hear about doctors, they talk about smoking, other things like that, that would increase your chances. Obviously, obesity is one of them, diabetic, heart disease, all that other stuff that comes with it. But what's curious to me is I've also been reading a lot of articles that talk about more and more of our foods are becoming more and more processed.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's just because we're the first generation to really start eating more of the processed foods compared to pre-90s or whatever, because millennials is what, 90 to like 94?
Yeah, I think 97, which is the year that I was born, is the last millennial
cutoff.
Year. Yeah.
So you're talking early to mid 90s. So anything in the 80s or less was probably somewhat healthier, and then that just compounds, right? So does that mean the generation after us is going to have 25 cancers that are higher? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, and I mean, the processed food thing is also linked back to the obesity as a whole, because, not only fast food, which is highly processed, but also a lot of the stuff you can buy at the grocery store. Like, you can go to that freezer section and you can buy, Hot Pockets and taquitos and pizza rolls and all this different
Easy stuff to make,
stuff that's designed for quick meals to microwave at the office, In addition to the food, there's also an issue of microplastics, which you hear about a lot.
I did hear that,
which is literally in everything. I mean, like, you can't take a sip from a water bottle without ingesting microplastics.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter if you don't smoke, if you live relatively healthy, you're going to be taking in these carcinogens, and it's almost unavoidable. Might as well smoke.
I didn't see anything about necessarily if it was linked to millennials not going to the doctors, like if they're not catching something early, or if I didn't see anything like that. Do you think that might be a possibility, as millennials are more kind of based off of WebMD and they're just leaving it at that? Or like the
well,
opposite?
actually, I read a couple more articles, and one of them contained a video where some news or talk show, and they were interviewing a doctor that was sort of explaining this, and she linked three different things to, or she sort of identified three different things to allow you to more likely avoid these cancers. So it was the eating habits, just the lifestyle habits in general. People are being more sedentary now.
Yes.
And that's also linked to cancer as well. And then the third thing was early detection. Like, I mean, I know that one of the best things I could do, one of the best improvements that I make, I eat relatively healthy and I live a relatively active lifestyle, is to go and get screenings. But I just know I'm not going to do that. Like I said, I just told you I can't even make a doctor's appointment. But even from like a financial standpoint, it comes down to what kind of insurance you have. Like, I have what's technically called catastrophe insurance. Okay, like when I called the lady, she was going over their options. They had like all the different names for them. They had like the gold plan, they had silver plan. I got the wood plan. Okay. She's like, she's like, a lot of young people, they want to choose that one, but I think you really should choose the silver. I'm like, don't even waste your breath. I'm choosing that one.
Yeah.
All right. It's the plan where I can pay, maybe $10,000 is like my out-of-pocket maximum, but like nothing really is covered. So it's like if I have a terrible accident or I break my arm, then I'll go in and I'll only pay $10,000. But if I go in for checkups and stuff, it's still going to be $50 a time for a checkup, let alone a cancer screening.
So believe it or not, that's actually how my insurance is through work. So,
really?
Yep. So for single coverage, it's let me look here. Go through. I believe it is like $5,000, $5,400 for single coverage. For family, it's just under $11,000 deductible. So when I called them, I'm like, so does this deductible, like, do you guys cover anything, like even like 10% until I hit my deductible? And no. So basically I have to break every bone in my body and then pay for it, and then that's it. So
that sucks.
Yeah. The only reason why, right, is because if I get hurt at work, they pay for that. So
it's a trade-off, I guess?
Kind of, in a sense. Now, obviously, some places have better medical insurance than others, but I won't go down that road too much because of
at least you can strike.
Stuff, but
you know, I can't. Oh, you can't?
Police can't strike.
Oh, okay. Well, that sucks, dude.
No.
Okay.
Police. There's 3 professions, 2 or 3 professions in the U.S., and police are one of them. We can't strike.
Oh, that sucks. I mean, I guess that's good for us, you know.
That's why they make it that way.
Yeah.
So we have to go to work angry
right.
just still do it and work off the old contract till new things come around.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep.
But I think a lot of people are in that position. I know multiple people that don't have any health insurance at all. And people, and especially as, you know, people's budgets just get tighter and tighter, and you know they can afford less and less things. I mean, people aren't going to go and get regular checkups. The only people that I know that get regular checkups are women. I don't know any guys that are going 2-3 times a year just to like get a checkup.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm here for my checkup, doc. Like, what?
Well,
No.
you know, it's interesting you say that because actually this last year, I'm 28. I made it a point that every 2 years until I'm 40, I'm going to get one physical. Because of the amount of cancer in our families.
Yeah.
Skin, I mean, you name it, head to toe, we're full of cancer, right? So I've made it a point that every 2 years until I hit 40, then it'll be every year. Once I hit 40, I'm going to just go in for like a half hour, just blood tests and stuff to make sure I'm good. But, I mean, it has to be done. It's not fun. I mean, I don't want another dude squeezing my balls.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if something's wrong, I would like to live past 60, right? And not to mention, I mean, you talk about cancers that grow quickly. I mean, people don't go for 3 months. You're already talking about it could be up to like a baseball-sized tumor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and that makes perfect logical sense, and everybody should do that regardless of your family history. I mean, like we're reading here, I mean, there's so many things we're exposed to now, but it is illogical, my laziness for not scheduling these appointments. Like, I don't even go to get my tires rotated. Like, I don't do any of these maintenance on my car or my body. Making the appointment is the biggest obstacle. Yeah. Like, I just never get around to making the appointments, and and that's what stops me. What I need is like a HUD display, like they have in like Halo or something, where like it's just like I need a health bar in my vision, you know. Remember Google Glass? Like that's kind of what that was gonna be. Is like you'd have like a heads-up display walking around life. Yeah. I need a health bar and I need a bank account counter, so that way I can always have an eye on both of those things.
What I find interesting as well is when I call in for a doctor appointment, I don't like calling in. They're like, "Okay, and why will you be coming in on that day or whatever?" And be like, "Oh, I have a rash." Okay, can you describe where? Why do you taking the appointment? Why do I need to tell you?
Yeah, let me tell you.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you're not a doctor. You know what I mean? So I wonder, like I feel like, and I know legally they can't do this, but I feel like after I hang up the phone, they're like, "Yo, this asshole has a rash on his penis." So when he comes in next Thursday, you know, just all stare at him. You know what I mean?
Dude, HIPAA be damned. You know they're doing that.
Absolutely, man. There's a reason why there's no cameras in the lunchroom over there. You know what I mean?
Man, every profession talks shit about the people calling into the customers, and you know they're doing that.
No,
they're laughing their ass off at some of this stuff.
You know it's happening. And I think as a guy, like, as much as we come off confident and tough, I think that's part of the issue too, is like sometimes there might be embarrassment about it or something, right? Or like how many times you see the fucking commercials of the bent peppers and shit, and it's like Peyronie's disease or whatever it's called.
What is that? Peyronie's.
It's like, have you seen, you haven't seen those commercials where it's like this thing pops up and the peppers are like shaped like this, and they're like, "Man, if this is you,
Oh my
going
God,
to
no.
the doctors, you have Peyronie's disease or something." Apparently, it like bends your penis where you can't get erect.
How many people didn't realize they had a problem until that pepper showed up on the screen, and they're like, "Oh shit."
They're like, for real, dude. Like, I mean, seriously though, like I think about that. Like, I think a lot of it is the embarrassment. Now, obviously, I think women might find that surprising, right? Because a lot of the men, they're just confident and they're like, whatever. But I think that is part of it. I mean, like I said, I've never had something where it's like, I don't know, man, I got purple shit coming out of my ass. I don't want to talk to the doctor about. I've never had a moment like that, but I can see somebody being like, dude, I think there's like a finger growing on my neck or some bullshit, you know, like just something weird, you know,
Yeah.
like where they're like, I don't know what this is and it's freaking me out. I think there's some embarrassment about that. But I'm sure doctors, I mean, fuck, dude, doctors see it all, man. So like, I guarantee you go in there and they're like, oh yeah, you're like the 10th person this week that I've dealt with that has this issue or whatever, you know, and whatever. What I feel bad for is who the hell was Mr. Peroni in the first place? Like, who is that named after? You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine being the first guy going into that office and your dick is bent at a 90 degrees, dude, and they're like, bro, we've never seen that before, and we're going to name it after you. Like, that's a disease that we're going to name after you.
He thought he was hitting the pussy with a right hook, dude. He's like,
They're like, yeah, I mean, imagine, like, the blowjobs, dude. It's just like, my God.
oh my God.
So, yeah, isn't that interesting, though?
Yeah,
like-
I've never heard of that. I
So-
think I would not want anything to happen. STDs are so terrifying,
Scary.
dude. And they try to make it seem like some of them aren't that big of a deal. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
like chlamydia, they'll just clean that right up. Like, I don't even know what it looks like. I do not want chlamydia, dude.
Yeah.
That syphilis sounds like it itches a lot. Like, this stuff, I would be so terrified if I found anything like
Sure.
that down there. And some people are so relaxed about it, bro. Like,
Yeah.
as if it's the same as just, like, catching a cold. Oh, I've
Yeah.
had syphilis 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think with me, it's like, obviously the big ones are scary, right? Like herpes, AIDS.
I would
HIV,
rather
whatever.
get AIDS because you can't see it. It doesn't make anything ooze.
Here's part of the problem, right? So like warts. Have you ever had warts on your hands or face or?
No, not really.
You've
but
never had a wart.
No.
Okay. So like if you've ever had warts in your life, you have what's called HPV, okay? Human papillomavirus. It stays around in your body and it can be passed like through physical touch. So like that can include sexual contact, can include anything. Now, the doctors know that HPV, having just warts, is a very, like, one of the most common STDs out there. So they don't really even talk about it anymore because it's just kind of one of those things where it just cures on its own. It
Yeah.
doesn't cause any issues, doesn't cause inflammation. Whereas, like, herpes, you have a burning cyst oozing on your dick or something. It's like, yeah, that's a problem, dude. Like, I would not like that. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
would
that
never be with another woman again. I would never want to have
Would
the
you cut it off?
conversation. What? No, I wouldn't do that. I'd just keep it to myself. But because once that happens, you either need to knowingly pass it on and not tell anybody about it, or
Yeah.
you need to be upfront about it. I would
And see
never
what
want to have that conversation. Like, hey, listen, like, I got herpes. It's not flared up right now.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a flare up, then we
Right.
can do it.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not ever going to
That's
do
not a
that.
thing.
It'd be
No.
over for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that's the thing, dude. Like, that's honestly, in the past, like, that honestly drives me more to the doctors, is freaking out about, like, dumb shit.
Yeah.
Where, like, you go there and they're like, oh, like, that's nothing. You know, that's just a cyst or whatever. Like, I've had sebaceous cysts, they call them, which is just right under your skin is the sebaceous layer.
Okay.
And it's just a fatty cyst underneath.
But if you go
But-
for essentially what amounts to be nothing, and you
Right.
still got to pay him on the way out, it's like, God
Correct.
damn, I wish
Well,
I would have
that's-
gone.
Correct, and that's the problem. Like with your deductible and my deductible is like, you literally walk in there, and you're like, hey, like, I don't know what this is. I'm like kind of nervous about it. Like, whatever. You go in there, and they literally take 3 minutes or less, and they're like, yeah, no, that's nothing. You don't need it. It'll go away on its own. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I
And
could have just sent you
paid
a picture.
$150 for that 3-minute visit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, dude. So